So don't judge
Hello,
me.
hello.
What's up, Mr. Ward?
I'm good. How are
How
y'all?
you feeling?
Well, we can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Oh yeah, we hear you now. Okay.
Okay.
All right, you just was kind of low a little bit, but yeah, man. So how are you, man? You good?
I'm making it. I'm making it.
Where you from?
I'm from Dallas, Texas.
Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Up the
We'll.
street around the corner.
Yeah. All right. You ready to get into it?
Yeah. You let us know you from Dallas, Texas. How many kids do you have,
Two.
and how many are currently being alienated?
One. I have full custody of my other one.
So are your children? They're not by the same woman. So you have two kids,
No.
two different children's mothers.
Correct.
Okay. So before we get into the part about what you're going through, just give us a little bit of the backstory. Let's start with the one. What? How old are the kids?
16 and 6.
And which one do you have custody of?
16-year-old
Okay. So is it a daughter or a son?
daughter.
Daughter. You and her mother. How was that? Was that a situationship, a marriage, a relationship, one night stand? Get into it and let us know what happened with you guys.
So that was tricky. So I was a soldier. I was based in Germany, and I wasn't even trying to holler at her originally. I was trying to holler at her friend, but she was the one who was flirting with me. So I was like, all right, whatever. Um, yeah, she pretended to be pregnant to get pregnant.
Mm,
She pretended to be pregnant to get pregnant. And, they don't teach us enough in, educational classes growing up. So what they
true.
didn't tell us is that if a woman has a miscarriage, they're technically not supposed to be able to get pregnant again until the remains from the miscarried child is removed.
Mm-hmm.
So she said she lost the kid and then that she was pregnant again. And I was like, okay, wow, that sucks. And then, I was
So you didn't want
talking.
any children at the time.
Oh no, I wanted kids. I've had my daughter's name picked out since I was in fourth grade.
Okay, but did you want it with her?
Not how it happened, because
Okay.
I actually broke up with her, and then she was like crying and whatever. And then I asked her friend, I was like, "Why is she crying?" She was like, "Well, I think she's pregnant." They were kind of
Oh,
in on it, yeah.
So you
So
guys were in a relationship.
we were, and then
Okay.
I broke it off. And in order to get me back, she said that she was pregnant.
Okay.
so did you? Well, of course you broke it off, but did you ever address to her that you didn't want kids with her?
Um, it wasn't even that. It wasn't that I didn't want kids with her. It was the first time where I was like, with the way things were, I was okay with being a distant parent. And
Got
then we started talking things out. We stayed up all night talking, and I was like, all right, well, let's see
So
where this goes.
she's German.
She's a German citizen, but she was born in Kazakhstan. You ever seen Borat?
I have not. So what is her ethnicity? What's her race? Her
She's white, blonde hair, blue
okay.
eyes.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So you were based out of the country. You
Hmm.
met her. You guys started a relationship. She ended up pregnant. Baby's born. How long did you guys stay together after your daughter was born?
My daughter was born, and then 2 months later, I deployed.
Okay.
Exactly 2 months later. And I found out from other people that she was already having dudes waiting to walk her home from work and things like that.
Other soldiers or just
Other
dudes?
soldiers.
Oh
Okay.
wow.
And before we continue, thank you for your service. Got to
Yes,
put
Thank
that
you.
out
Thank you.
there
definitely.
because that's very honorable, admirable. So what did that look like the first year of your baby's time being here between you guys being split and you being deployed? How did you guys work that out? Like, how was that?
Well, at this point, we had already we had gotten married. We got married.
Oh,
Oh, so it was a marriage.
so you
That's
went
So,
back or
yeah, I went back after we had after I broke up with her. We had talked about everything, and that's where she pretty much played everything off. She said she was pregnant. I had no clue that women could not get pregnant unless the remains are moved. So I had no clue. And so when she said she had the miscarriage, I was not the wiser, because she was drinking a lot of water and things like that. And instead of actually gaining baby weight, she was gaining weight because she was drinking a whole bunch of water.
okay.
hold
Um,
on, so long. So this whole time that you keep talking about this pregnancy, she wasn't pregnant.
nope.
So it
Not
was that,
only
like you
that,
said, play pregnant until I get pregnant type
exactly.
situation.
Not only that,
Okay.
I found out
So you
that,
being dumb, the thing that men do when they
So do you feel like you were trapped? Because not to spend too much time on you guys, we just are trying to get a basis of like
oh
what
no,
happened.
backstory.
I was definitely trapped. Because I found out that her and her friends had a whole little ring. Is what they usually do. Is they'll tell the soldier that they were pregnant in order to get them to give them money for an abortion when they were never pregnant in the first place.
So this is like officer and a gentleman kind of type situation. Did you see? Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
Man,
and
That
I even went with her. Well, the messed up part is when she said she was pregnant, I went with her to the doctor. I didn't go in. I didn't go in. I was outside with my friend because I had just gotten there. I didn't have a car. So we were just sitting out talking, and she brought out a sonogram. What I didn't know, because I was young, again, that whenever you get a sonogram, it has the name of the mother on the sonogram. It didn't have a name. She had cut it off,
wow.
because it was her friend's sonogram who was pregnant around the same time.
Wow. So this is a real thing. Like, we don't typically, you're the first
yeah, like
soldier that we've heard that this happened to, that we've spoken to. You hear these stories and you don't really realize that it's a real thing. But I guess most of movies and things are motivated by real life experiences. So
so. Let me ask you a question. So, did you know about this was the game that can be played
on soldiers.
on soldiers at the time?
I heard rumors. I
Okay,
heard rumors, but I didn't think that that was the case. Didn't think that was the case.
because I mean, you married her, so obviously,
You were trying to do the right thing, right?
or did you
Exactly.
really love her? Or
Like,
I'll honestly say I was trying to do the right thing. I did not
okay,
want my daughter to be in a broken home.
okay,
yeah, because she's from a different country. Like, yeah, yeah, that's
okay.
yeah.
Okay, so let's speed it up a bit. So
Okay.
where did it go left, and how did you end up with full custody?
That
Well,
was
she was,
the first baby you had full custody of.
yeah,
Is this the first baby or the
we're
second
still on the
baby?
first. We still on
So
Oh,
the
this still
first.
on the first? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, like I said, she was cheating on me while I was
That's a lot.
deployed. She was cheating on me while I was deployed, found out from multiple people. And she came to the States and, she was trying to be all lovey dovey and cool. I was like, all right, things are fine. Things are cool. And then found out from somebody else, they went back New Year's, New Year's night. She was out partying with the dude that she was cheating on me with.
so did you have doubts of paternity, knowing all this even after the fact, with the game she played from the starting point up until the fact you get deployed and she's cheating? How did you know that it was your baby?
Never had doubts. I mean, at that point, before I left, she was always with me.
Okay,
Did you
okay.
did you ever take a test?
Nope, don't care to either. That's my baby.
Yeah, she just now, of
Yeah, of
course,
course, yeah.
Yeah,
it's definitely not even necessary. But we were just wondering because when men say that their children's mom cheats, that's the first red flag that pops up. We just always want to know, do you know? Do you like
yeah.
know for sure? But of course, in your case, it's irrelevant. So okay, so she comes to the States. she's been a certain way. So at that point, you expose the fact that you know that she's cheating, or
Uh, no, I wasn't. Though people said it, I didn't have any proof, so I needed proof. I didn't get proof until just before I came back from deployment. It was on my birthday. The chaplain wanted to talk to me, and so we sat down and had a chat. And she said that I did something to her. Right? I was like, when? I've been gone. Did it? When did it happen? Did it happen on R&R? Did it happen before I left? Like, tell me. I need details. They're like, oh, it happened before you left. So if it happened before I left, why is it being brought up now?
right?
So, you know how they have the welcome home ceremony, and it's like, oh, welcome
Yeah.
home, you did it. Yeah, I was alone. Uh,
Okay.
I had,
So
I wasn't allowed to see my daughter. I wasn't allowed to see her, speak to her because she put a restraining order on me, and I had to go to
wow.
counseling. And the counselor was like, "Boy, when did you get back from deployment?" I was like, "Just like 2 days ago." She's like, "Wait a second." And she starts reading. She was like, "She's accusing you of something before you left. Why is she bringing it up now?" Come to find out, the dude she was cheating on me with was a fry cook from Popeyes, and he was living in our military housing.
On the
Wow.
base. Wow. Okay.
Wow.
So you had to fight for your baby there in another country. Like go through
Yes,
the process of getting your rights because she was putting these false accusations on you and things like that.
right.
Man,
Um,
that's crazy.
How was that?
Yeah,
Because
walk us through that.
we hear, we know a lot about the family court system here in the States, but to know, and then you obviously are a black man in Germany. How was that for you?
in all honesty, it wasn't that bad because the judge that I had, um, like I showed them pictures of, I wish I could show you now, but I showed them pictures of how the apartment looked. Um, and I told them how, a lot of women will prey on soldiers in order to get pregnant, in order to get the benefits and get on base and go to America and things like that.
Hmm.
And that judge knew. She was like, you know what? I know how it is. So what we're going to do is she's going to be your daycare, your babysitter. So while I went to work during the day, she was watching her daughter. And then I would pick her up after work and
Mm.
I would have her all throughout the week. And then she had her every other weekend.
So did you end up obtaining full custody over there or over here?
Oh no. So they told me, hey, we'll give you full custody with this judge. We'll give you full custody if you get out the military. So I got out
What?
on chapter 33. It was German government. So I got out on chapter 33, lack of family care plan. When I got out, they switched judges. And this new judge didn't know how, there are some women that prey on
Yeah.
soldiers. And so
Yeah.
she was like, I don't know why things are the way they are, but your daughter's going back to her mother.
Oh my God. That always sucks in the family court system. I guess that's globally, right?
Man, that's
Because
crazy.
it typically works that way here anyway. But I'm assuming they told you that you would have had to get
Crazy.
out of the military because
Oh,
the time
Deployments.
it was it about like the time spent with her.
Deployments.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
deployments.
Right, okay. Um,
Man, that's crazy.
so at this time, how old is the baby when you're doing this battle? Is she still pretty young or
She's about 2 or 3.
so the new judge basically gave her back. So just get us to you getting her back after that.
Whew. Well, I stayed in Germany for a few more years, just so I could be there for her. And then it got to a point where I lost my job because it was they were switching over the warehouse to somebody else. So I was like, look, I got to go back to America and build something for my daughter because I'm not able to do anything here for her. Anytime I would move close to where she moved to, she would move to another city in the opposite direction. So she'd be like an hour, hour and a half away. And I would always have
Wow.
to go and pick her up in order to see her. And the reason she was moving around was because child services was supposed to check on her weekly. And so as soon as they started getting wind of it as well, they were like, well, she would just move to another city. So nobody would ever do what they were supposed to do. Um, so I came back to America, got a job that allows me to travel. And she sent me a message like, "Oh, I want you to be a part of her life. I never wanted to do this," and blah 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 blah. And I was like, I don't trust this. Something's off. So
Yeah.
I get her for the summer, and she was like, "Oh, well, just have her for the summer, and then whenever the summer's over, um, just bring her back to me." I was like, "All right, cool." Well, I looked at where they were going to live, and they were going to Fayetteville, in the bad part of Fayetteville. Um, and I was like, the where y'all are is not really good for her. I'm gonna just be real with you; it's not good for her.
Mm.
Was dating a teacher at the time, and I was like, look, I have opportunity to get into this charter district, and they have all these opportunities for her. Like, let me do that. Let me keep her here, and we'll figure it out. So she agreed to it at first. And then, like a week or two before school started, after she's already met her teacher, already saw her classroom and everything, she was like, "Well, I don't want to do it." I'm like, "What do you mean you don't want to do it?" She's like, "Well, I don't want her there. I want her here with me." And I'm like, "I'm not doing it to her. I'm not breaking her heart like that. She's already excited. So if you want her, you're going to have to come and get her. You're going to have to break that to her because I'm not doing that." She never came. She did not come and get her.
Wow.
So spring, she was like trying to come out during Christmas. She never showed.
So did
And
she
then,
really, really want her, or did she just want to make things hard for you?
hmm. So the thing is, the reason she left America or left Germany is because whenever you have a child in Germany, you're off work for 3 years for with a percentage of your pay. Not
Mm.
only that, you get what's called Kindergeld, which is money for the kid, and Erziehungsgeld is money for the parents, right? So I told them from jump that she's just going to live off of y'all's system. As soon as my daughter turns 3, she's going to have another one. She's going to do it. And they're like, "Oh, you're just trying to drag her name through the mud." Well, lo and behold, my daughter turned 3. She had another kid. That kid turned 3. She had another kid. And so they were
What?
Oh
like,
wow.
anytime
So
he
she
sends you
really,
child support,
really
yeah, she played the system. And they were like,
strategically
anytime
planned
you,
these things out.
exactly. They
Now
were like,
these little
anytime he
baby
sends
mamas
you
finna
child
start
support,
moving to
Yeah, they
Germany.
gonna go to Germany now.
Man,
facts.
what?
They hear this story. Yeah.
Um,
So go
what
ahead.
they what it was is they realized what she was doing, so they were like, anytime he sends you child support, you need to give that to us. So
Okay,
she
so
wasn't making the
you
same amount of
weren't
money.
ordered to pay child support. This was
Oh,
just
I
something.
was.
Oh, you was from
Y-
Germany.
yes.
You were okay.
Yep. And they reached over here to make sure that I paid it too.
Wow. Wow.
They
Like,
reached over here in the
Yep.
States.
do
Yep.
you know how hard it is to even get two states that's interstate custody
Oh
related
yeah.
to
Oh, I know.
comply with each other? And you're telling me that this country was making sure that they were getting their child support payments.
Yep. So that's the funny part.
Unbelievable.
So I come spring break, she was like, "Oh, well, can she come during spring break?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Let me wait till my schedule comes out and we can plan it out." But she started acting funny. I was like, "That's like, what's going on?" She was like, "Oh, nothing. Just, as soon as you get it, let me know." And then, like, right the day before my schedule comes out, she's like, "Just so you know, I reported her passport as being missing or stolen or whatever." I'm like, "Why would you do that?" She's like, "Because I don't have it." And I was like, "I know you don't have it. It's with me because I brought her from Germany. So why would you do that?"
Yeah.
Right.
So she she reported my daughter's passport as being stolen in order so she could get an expedited one.
Mm.
So I got a call while I was on the trip. The person I was dating, she was a little bitty, so she couldn't look out the peephole. And I told her, "Don't answer the door unless you know who it is." And while I was gone one morning, she opened the door thinking it was my mom because my mom stayed across the street in this complex I stayed in. And it was her mom. She used the grandmother to ask questions about where I was in order to know when I was gone so that way they could kidnap her. They kidnapped her, even though I already went to the court, got all the documents, and she shouldn't take her. She kidnapped her, went to North Carolina, and nobody would do anything about it.
So
Um,
wait, the grandmother shows up to your house,
no,
still
the grandmother was talking on the phone with my daughter
okay,
to be able to relay when I was not there to the
right,
mother, and the
right.
mother and her new guy came and kidnapped my daughter.
Oh, okay. So they just used the grandmother to get information from your child, but they actually showed up to your home,
Yeah.
her and her new dude, and took her.
Yep.
Wow. So at this time, she's living in the states or just here to
Yeah.
be a kidnapper.
She's living in the States.
And I want to say this because I know when people watch this, they're gonna say, "Well, you can't kidnap your own kid." In
You
some
can.
instances, yes, you can. Yes,
Exactly.
you can. And
That's
If
so that
there's
I'm not gonna go into details.
especially
This is
when you
not
don't
a
mean the kid no good. You
right.
only
This is
cause
not
harm to the
a
kid.
segment to go into depth, but you definitely can kidnap your own kid.
So I'm assuming the new boyfriend was a soldier too as well.
no,
Because
he
North
was
Carolina
the
is a big state for like
military.
military,
Yeah.
right?
So he was the son of somebody who was in the military who
Mhm.
never left Germany.
Wow. So she still was still involved with the military somehow, right?
Yeah.
So they take your daughter back at what time? At how old is she at this time?
She had just turned 7,
So how
literally
long was
like days
she?
before.
How long was she with them that you couldn't get her back?
2 months.
Okay, I know that was rough for you.
Right. And when
It
she
was.
wasn't in school or anything, right?
No, they allowed her to put her in school.
Wow, wow. So how far away from you was that distance wherever she was at?
I was in Dallas, Texas. She went to
Oh,
North
you were still
Carolina.
in, okay. You were still in Texas. So what happened with that? How did you get her back?
Hmm. Well, I went to go and file paperwork in North Carolina because what she did was when we had our court date in Texas, she did, phone appearance, and she was like, "Oh, well, I filed documents in North Carolina." So the judge, instead of saying it doesn't matter because jurisdiction, my daughter was in Texas for more than 6 months. She was in Texas for what, 9 months at this point. And
Right.
he should have been like, no, you need to bring her here. But instead,
Exactly.
he was like, no, I'm just going to give jurisdiction in North Carolina.
So they switched jurisdiction after her only been there for 2 months.
They tried, right?
Okay,
Yeah, I was
they
gonna
tried.
say
Yeah,
because
and see,
yeah,
you
So,
know,
you can't do
that's
that.
that's a tough one.
Texas ain't going for that.
That's a tough one.
oh,
So
they
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 tried.
do.
Okay.
They give it up. So, I went to North Carolina. I spoke with somebody, and she was like reading everything. Let me go get all these documents signed. And she was like, okay, wait a second. Why didn't Texas get your child right then and
Yes.
there? Like,
Right.
that doesn't make sense. And then she read some more. She was like, how long has your kid been here? And I told her like 2 months. And I was like, yeah. And her response was, they shouldn't have gave up jurisdiction like that. That's stupid.
No.
And so I was like, okay, well, what can I do? She said, well, North Carolina is just going to assume it because the judge gave it up jurisdiction. And when they do that, they're going to instantly be like, whoever the child's with, the child is going to stay with at that point in time.
Right.
So we'll just say she did not tell me that I needed to try and re-kidnap my child.
Yeah. So a lot of times, and,
Yeah, you
and
gotta put
when
them.
people watch this, they're gonna get ideas like light bulbs is gonna go off. But the reality is, it wasn't a court order established just yet.
It was. That's the
So
thing. So I had paperwork that said she wasn't supposed to take her out of the state of Texas, interrupt her daily life, any of that. I already had the documents, but nobody would do anything. So the problem is that no um, law enforcement can act
right,
unless
they
it
can't.
says
And it,
this police department or law enforcement has to act unless if the child
Right.
is taken, so they couldn't do
Yeah.
Right.
anything.
Okay, so let me take a step back, so I don't want to give misinformation. So what I was thinking was it was no active court order in place, and because they were fighting over jurisdiction, that would allow you time to bring her back and do things. But you're saying that Texas was already established. She was
Yeah,
there 9 months, so quite naturally, people who know the court system would automatically think they have jurisdiction, and they did. But North Carolina tried to pull a fast one with her not being truthful, and whatever she told them, however they filed the case, they just thought they were gonna just snatch jurisdiction, but you really can't do that when it's already established in another state. So
right.
Yeah.
that saved you. That was you having her for that length of time substantiated why you had the right to actually kidnap her back and bring her back to that exclusive jurisdiction.
So the $1 million question is, you know where I'm about to come. How did you pull that off?
So I tried to re-kidnap, but it didn't work. There was another guy who was dealing with the exact same thing, going in and out of the same office, and we tried to go and grab and dip, but somebody else showed up. Look, I already had the flight booked. I was ready to go. Like, all I needed to do was get to the airport, make it through security, and we were good to go. Um, but what happened, those her friends showed up, cops came, and the cops were like, kid's not like a football, whoever has a child in
Right.
hand, yeah, I get that.
Right.
And then the sergeant came and he was like, look, man, I understand exactly what you're doing. I understand what you're going through. I had to deal with it myself. Just keep fighting. Cool. So I went back to Texas, and this was on like a Thursday or a Friday. I tried to re-kidnap her,
Mm-hmm.
had a hearing that following Monday because I went above that other judge, whatever you call it. I went up to his boss.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so there was this lady judge that stepped in because the other judge was sick. It gets juicy. It's a lifetime story, I'm telling you. So this judge steps in and she's like, okay, this is pretty simple. Ma'am, when did you get served the paperwork? Oh, I got served the paperwork on the 7th or whatever. Okay, when did you come and kidnap your child? On the 19th. So you knew what you were doing and you did it anyways. You knew you were
Mm-hmm.
breaking the law. She was like, yes, ma'am. Cool. So whenever the school year is finished, she's going back to her father. We're gonna let her finish the school year with you, but she's going back to her father, and he will have all the rights. So that was on a Monday. That
Okay.
following Sunday, I get a phone call from missing persons, and was it missing persons? Yes, the missing persons. And they were like, "Hey, so how's everything going?" I was like, "Hey, everything went in my favor. I'm going to get my daughter. This, that, and other." They're like, "Okay, well, we were just wondering, since your child has a flight booked to go to Germany within the next few days or so." And I was like, "What?"
Wow.
She's like, "Yeah, she's got a flight booked." And I was like, "Well, how do you know this information?" Well, the State Department told us. Okay, well, have the State Department call me. State Department calls me, and she was like, "Oh, how you doing?" I was like, "Well, I would be doing fine if it wasn't for finding out the fact that my daughter is about to get internationally kidnapped." And she was like, "Oh, so you know?" I was like, "Yeah, I know because whatever." She's like, "Well, I can't confirm, but she has a flight booked to go within the next day or two." And I'm like, "Okay, bet." I work for the airlines, right? So
Oh
I'm
man.
up here like, let's find out what flight, what's the nearest airport. Oh, they're going out of Charlotte. This is the flight. Oh, and they're flying on my airline.
Wow.
Perfect. So everybody was up in arms. I put, photos and everything out. Like, everybody was trying to do what they could to slow things down in order to
Mhm.
stop this from happening. So the next morning, this is where it gets good. The next morning, I go to the courthouse here in Dallas, right? And I look for the judge, the woman, um, so she could sign off on the documents, so it's all done, right?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I go to find her or try to find her. They're like, "Oh, well, she doesn't have jurisdiction anymore." I'm like, "How does she not have jurisdiction that fast?" They're like, "Well, the judge she was standing in for, he died the day before. So because he died, she does not have jurisdiction anymore. So you have to
Wow.
go back to the original judge that gave up jurisdiction." I'm
Oh
like, "You got to be
God.
kidding me."
Are you
So I
serious?
I dead serious. So I Went back in the offices. I told him, I found him. He was crying, and I was like, "Look, man, I understand losing your friend and colleague. I'm a soldier. You know, I lost friends, and I had to go on a mission the next day. But you got to keep going. And if you don't do
Yes.
your job, my daughter's going to get internationally kidnapped, and there's nothing I can do." And he's like, "Well, I only talk to your lawyer." I'm like, "You got to be kidding me." All right, cool. Call my lawyer while I'm on my way to the airport. He was in another city doing something. So I talked to his assistant, told the assistant what was going on. I was on the flight. I'm emailing back and forth. They were like, "Hey, meet with the sergeant of the airport when you get there." Cool. I get there. I met with 6 people, 3 officers and 3 corporate security from my company or whatever. And they're like, "All right, well, we heard what was going on. Can you show us all of your documentation?" And I showed them all the documentation. They were like, "Well, we can't do anything." And I was like, "Something's
What?
got to be done." And so nobody could do anything because, again, on that paperwork, it didn't say law
That
enforcement has to act
yeah.
if this happens. So eh, I swear I was there for like 2 hours, 3 hours or so. And then within the last 15 minutes, because, they close the doors within the last 5 to 10, the lady from the State Department, because they're all arguing back and forth. State Department, missing persons, the police officers, corporate, they're all arguing. And then Hail Mary, the missing persons, was like, "What you need to do is call the original police department, tell them what's going on, have them list her as missing again, and then somebody has to act." It's like, all right, bet.
So how much time did you have before this flight was set to take
Man,
off
this is
during
a
all of
lot.
this?
At this point, it was about 15 minutes before the flight was supposed to leave. So,
Wow.
yeah, I called them. I told them what was going on, and within like 5 minutes, they all the people in the room, like the cops, their heads they're like, "Oh, what? All right, bet." And so they dipped out, and I'm left with one person, and they couldn't tell me what was going on because they didn't know. So like 15, 20 minutes goes by, they all come back in the room. They were like, "Hey, so there's a restraining order restraining your daughter to the U.S., right?" And
Okay.
we went and told them they could leave all they want to, but that little girl cannot leave the country. And so they were like,
Okay.
"We're sorry we couldn't take her away and give her to you." I was like, "That's completely fine. She's in America, so I can still fight." And so as I'm saying goodbye and thank you to everybody, I get a text message from her mother. She's like, "Hey, can you come and pick her up?" And I was like, "Sure, when?" She's like, "As soon as possible." And I had to do it. I was like, "Oh, well, I'm at the airport where you just tried to internationally kidnap her." And she was like,
Mm-hmm.
"What?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm here." So she was like, "Okay, well, can we meet and, I'll give her to you or whatever." I was like, "Sure." I told the cops, they went out security with me, and we sat there for a minute waiting. She finally showed up. She was like, "Oh, can we sit down and talk?" And I was like, "I was advised not to talk to you. I was just told to get my daughter and then go back through security." So she sits down, talks to her for like 5, 10 minutes, and then she brings her to me, gives me the expedited passport. We go through security. And then after that, it was just pretty much history. And I got my daughter. Um,
Wow. I couldn't even imagine. Like we went through some similar stuff, but nothing like this. And this is like cross country, like globally. That
Yeah, that's a
wow,
lot.
that's a lot. And
I don't know
so
how you even dealt with that, man.
I know that it was chaotic. I know you were like I just don't I just can't even imagine. But so they were able to stop her from basically snatching her out of the country and taking her back to Germany.
yeah.
And did the court system do what they needed to do after school was finished, or what happened?
Oh
They
no, she
leave
she
and
was with me from then on. I went to Texas court and she didn't appear, and they were like, "All right, cool. This makes it easier. You have her. You have all the rights to her. Her mother has no rights, and if she wants rights, she needs to come back to Texas to fight for them. Other than that, she has no rights to her." Um,
Have
and
you have you heard from her since?
oh yeah, she calls every now and or she did call every now and then. And that's where it gets tricky because, you know, she's supposed to be paying child support. She's like 30 something $1,000 in arrears or whatever, and they
Yeah.
won't do anything about it. But throughout the time that I've had her, because remember, this one, she was 7, now she's 16. I have literally begged her mother to call her, talk to her, because trying to raise a young
A
lady,
girl is difficult
right?
for me.
There's a lot
Exactly.
of stuff. Like I was
Yes.
in tears having to walk through the feminine product aisle. Like, oh, I ain't supposed to be doing this alone.
It's
But
it's 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 funny that you said that because a lot of times we don't get that side of things. It's typically rather not a single mom can raise boys, and if fathers say openly that they have a struggle with raising daughters, then it goes both ways, you know.
yeah,
So kids need both parents, and I'm glad that you are, you know, expressing that part about it because people just don't understand until they're in that position and they have a parent that isn't doing their part, you know.
Okay, so
right.
before we go to the second child, the mother, was she treating your daughter right the whole time she had her?
You know, at first I thought so. But me and my mom had some conversations that she never told me about. But my daughter, when I first got her until like maybe like 4 years ago, she kept trying to save food. She wouldn't eat all her food and she would save it. And I was like, that's weird. And then eventually my mom was like, oh, yeah, well, she talked to me when she first got here. She says she wasn't allowed to eat until after her brothers ate. So I was
That's
like,
unbelievable.
wow. So my daughter had been sneaking food and hiding things. And I'm like, why are you even doing that? We got food. If you want some, just ask. But
Cause
she
she's
was
still
just,
conditioned to
yeah,
when that was happening to her. Was she her mother's first child?
yes,
Okay, so these are the kids that she had after her. She pretty much made her a target probably because of those way the situation was going with you guys. She was
yeah,
the one that was catching, you know, the bad end of it. And that's what we talk about with parental alienation. Now she's targeting her daughter just because she's unsatisfied with what you're doing and how it's going with you. So
yeah.
Okay, and then my second question is, how is your daughter now? Like, what have you done to, did you take her to therapy, or how
That
has
was
she
another
handled the
problem.
situation?
So taking her to therapy, they just kept saying, "Oh, she's just a typical child," and I was like, "Yeah, no, that's not normal child behavior." Like, but they were like, "No, it's normal." Like, all right, cool. You know, y'all are the
mm,
professionals. I talked to her as much as I could, um, and we had a really, deep conversation because she was like, "Why does my mom? Why is my mom not present? Why is she didn't call me and this, that, and other?" I was like, "Baby, I don't know." And I had to have a heart to heart with her. I was like, look, I've begged your mom. I've pleaded with your mom. And she would always say, oh, okay, well, I'm going to consistently call once or twice a week. But she didn't. And so she was like, well, can I ask her? And this was like maybe 3 years ago, maybe four, probably like three.
okay.
And so I was like, okay, you can call and ask her. But I already knew. I was like, her mom's going to try and do something sneaky. So I was like, baby, before you do, I need you to read our messages. Like I had to make that decision. I need you to read the messages where you can see that I asked her repeatedly to be present because I
Now
don't want her to
what age was she at this time?
13.
Okay. Um you know, some people when they see this, they will have some backlash, you know,
Oh,
of
I know.
course.
I know,
But
but I
as a
had to
parent, we
prepare
do
her.
make those choices, and nobody knows like your daughter personally and her maturity level and what you needed to let her understand. Because with this parental alienation, thing, you know, a lot of stuff is hidden. It's under the table. It's sneaky. It's indirect. Like
Yeah,
kids will never know, and that's why when they grow up and they find out all of these things, it's so damaging to them that you know. Honestly, I think that you made the right decision, especially with her having concerns and wanting to know. I don't feel that it was in not in her best interest for you to show her what you
right.
needed to tell her for her to make that call. So
So for the people that is watching to have something to say that say that's parental alienation. What do you have to say to that?
It wasn't. And I can easily explain. So I had to show her the messages to prepare her for the call because as soon as my daughter asked, well, mom, why aren't you here? Why aren't you calling me? Why aren't you doing this, that, and other? First words that came out of her mouth was, well, you're a father. And my daughter instantly, no, we're not doing that because he showed me the messages. He has begged you to be present and you're choosing not to. So that's not on him, that is on you. And so that's my only explanation for it. That's not parental alienation. That was me protecting my daughter so she doesn't try and corrupt her mind to thinking that I was the problem.
Okay, okay. For those that would ask, well, why didn't you show her the message afterwards? What would you have to say to that?
Um,
Like you weren't trying to make
I
her mom look bad, right?
no,
That's
No,
I
you
just
was. I
wanted to
know. I know
prepare
what you
her.
was trying to do. You was trying to be proactive. So when the lie come, your daughter will already know. Like, okay, I've seen proof.
Yeah,
But for some people,
they would think
that might be still considered parental alienation.
that you kind of put, with
Planted
showing
the
her that
planted the
it's
seed.
the seed is planted. Like, okay, it's
right.
subjective, right?
I get it. But she had the opportunity to tell the truth, but she lied right out the gate.
Okay, I see that. I
Yeah.
see why you chose to do that.
Okay.
As far as their relationship, if she hadn't been being present based off of you guys' agreement, then you think that they could have had a better relationship?
I'm sorry. She was asking me something.
Okay. I was saying with the way that it went, whatever the mutual agreement was, I mean, do you think that they could have had a better relationship had she did everything that she did? Because at this time, you're already in another relationship with another woman and you have another child, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
At this time that we're speaking, because we're going to backtrack and start about your second kid. But she was being raised, she had a step mom or another woman in her life, or
Yeah. And comes stepmom, my
okay, and
second
what was
relationship.
okay. So it's a lot. So I'm I'm trying to stay in course so nobody gets lost. But this is already 3 years after the fact that your second child is born. So she's in a home with you and your other significant other, right? Your
Right.
significant other. And that's the person that's being her mom at the time, right?
Yeah.
Um, how was that? Do you think that her mother felt that she was being replaced and that's why she didn't want to be a part of her life, or what? How was that
No,
for you guys?
she didn't care.
Okay.
She didn't care that my spouse was present. She was afforded the same opportunities to call and speak to her, everything. And she just didn't care.
So how is their relationship? Your daughter and
Hmm.
are y'all still together?
Can you not talk about it if somebody
Oh no, no,
around?
no. We can talk about it. So that goes
Okay.
into my now custody
Current
case.
situation. Okay.
Yeah. So uh married her. Things were all sweet until they weren't. Um she was partying a lot. And then come to find out she had my daughter lying to me about parties that were being held in the house. She got high and drove with both of the kids in the car. She
What?
alienated me from my children while I was in the house. I wasn't allowed to do anything with my son. Um, anytime, anything in the house, honestly, cooking, cleaning, rearing of the children. She's like, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm like, I'm here. Like I told her from jump, look, I'm an active parent. I know how to cook, I know how to clean, and I don't expect for you to do all the rearing of the children. We're not doing that because you're going to get tired. I've been raising my daughter on my own for some time now. We're not doing that. You're going to get
What
burnt out.
caused the shift? Because she was around quite some time with you and your daughter before you and her had a child together, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So was it just because she had a child and she was, wanting to be in control of that situation? What do you think caused it to go left?
It was her image. She
Okay.
wanted to look like this grand, amazing wife and mother to everyone else. That
Okay.
was, and that's still how she is. She cares more about what people think of her more than
Okay.
anything. And that's what caused it. Like, I didn't know how bad it was because she was like, "Oh, I'm a social butterfly." For me now, if a woman says she's a social butterfly, that's a
That's
red
a red
flag for me.
flag.
Red
Yeah.
flag, not having it. But what it
Oh,
was is she's the type of person where if you are friends with her and you have another friend, she's going to do
she'd be
whatever she
jealous.
can to make that friend her friend as well.
Okay.
So
Okay.
she,
So
Yeah,
go for
so
it
with her, she was there through all like some of this process with your other daughter, right?
with my daughter. Yep.
Yeah, with your daughter. So I don't get like why would she put you through the same thing?
Mm, yeah. I don't know either. I have no clue. But the thing is I knew certain things and I was a part of this group on Facebook for deadbeat parents, right? Where we were helping a lot of mothers and fathers, right? Helping fathers to be more active in how they could communicate better, helping mothers how to, understand that a father is still a father. Allow them to be a father. If they are telling you, no, I don't want to be a parent, don't try and force the child into their life because that's how
exactly.
kids end up getting hurt.
Yes.
Um, and so throughout the time, she was always listening to me about how court cases should be handled when it comes to this stuff, how to communicate, whatever. And I was basically giving her all the
The
knowledge to
blueprint
fight me.
to yeah to go against you, but okay. So I guess what's confusing is okay. Like for us, I became his wife. We fought for his kids. It took 5 years. I went through this process, and I know this isn't, a blanket type of thing. It's not one size fit all, right? And
Right.
so everybody is different. It's her character that's to question, of course. But I'm just saying, with the child that we have, for whatever reason, if him and I don't work out, I would never alienate our daughter. Like, so that's the part that's kind of like what is possessing her to do that, because she's with you, she's seen you raise your other child before y'all had a kid, and she knows that you're a good dude. So why
And
why
you gon'
sabotage?
and you gonna fight.
Right. You're not gonna just stand by, so why sabotage that for what? Like what's the end game? What is it that she's not getting from you that would cause her to become bitter to do these things?
I know why. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, because she knows that's what will hurt him. She
Exactly.
knows that he value his fatherhood. So
Yeah.
she's gonna hit him exactly
Yeah.
where she know it'll hurt him the most.
I'm just trying to figure out how did it go so bad.
Yeah, how
So
did it go
that's
left?
that's I guess the question
So
I'm asking.
it was a combination of things. Um, Literally, like whenever our son was being born, like I told her, like I didn't want her mother there because her mother's very controlling, in your face. I don't care if you're a husband, I'm your mother and I'm gonna do whatever I want. And
Mm.
in the delivery room, y'all know there's four sides of the bed. One side is up against the wall, one side
Mhm.
has the monitors, one side a doctor's gonna be there, and other side is for
Look.
the spouse, right?
Yeah.
But she was constantly next to the bed. So it's like, can I be here? Can I be present? And I defended her against her mother too, because I defended her against her mother because she was trying to do a natural birth, and she was in labor for hours, and her mom was like, You don't need it. You don't need it. Well, I told my wife, I was like, hey, if you can sit here through one contraction, don't move, power through it. I'll go and get the nurse so you can get this epidural because if you move while they're doing it, it's going to mess you up. I know too many women who have messed up backs because of epidurals.
I am one
So,
of them.
see, so I went to go get the nurse after she did it. And I come back and her mom is like all in her face. She's like, you don't need it. You don't need it. And she's like, Mom, quit touching me. Mom, stop. Mom, stop. When it hit that third time, I was like, my wife asked you to stop touching her. So that put mom already against me.
Oh
Um,
man,
Yeah,
that's
that's
I
a
bet
tough
that turned
situation.
that
It's very
fight.
sticky. And
yeah.
that, we know for anybody who's listening and watching that, interference from in-laws, even just having a blended family is hard. Just any other party besides the couple that's married. Once it's, tension outside that, if you guys can't put a hold on that and keep, the perimeter safe, it can ruin your marriage. And so I can see how things can go left because family, that's tough. Like it's tough not to have a great relationship with your in-laws, and this is your
Man,
spouse's family, and
you
it just
got
makes
y'all gotta learn.
everything worse.
Y'all gotta learn how to set boundaries if you're listening.
Right.
It's not up to the other person to set the boundaries. It's up for you to set the boundaries for your mother and
Your
her to set
people.
them
Yep.
for her mother and father, and she set the boundaries for her mother and father.
So
Okay, so
y'all
now
sound
we're
like me.
left. So now we're left with the mom. So
It kept going left. So when it came to the house, cleaning and things like that, anytime I would try and clean, she would come over and try and take over the task. And I'm like, I got it now. And she would just continue to push and push. And I'm like, I don't want to argue in front of the kids. So I let her do whatever she was going to do. And then
Yeah.
whatever she did, she would have do it. And I was like, if you were going to have do it, why didn't you just let me do it? Right? Just let me do it.
man, I think that's just life, man.
Yeah, no, no,
But,
it's not.
I'm just
What you're
but
playing.
trying
it
to
got
say, listen,
worse. It got
the,
worse. Like I
the
wasn't allowed to do anything with my kids. Like give my son a bath. Um, we go grocery shopping or clothes shopping. Oh, I want to carry him in the chest carrier, or I want to push him in the stroller. The only time I was allowed to be a parent was when she was too tired and couldn't handle it.
or when she
That-
wanted to party.
exactly.
Did she have any? Did she have other kids?
No.
Mm.
So, yeah. So this is
So
I
that
see where the problem was for them. Like
that's
with
controlling, boy.
that the marriage was just suffering, and so once it plummets, then it's all downhill from there. And so
Really, that's a red flag. Not to cut you off. I'm sorry, baby.
he did say that he saw
That's a
some
red.
red flags.
That's a red flag. If you see women that's always want to clash with you when it comes to your kids, and you say up, they say down.
Yeah.
That's a red flag, man. That's early signs of parental alienation, like you said. And I'm glad that you mentioned that because a lot of people think that parental alienation is only when you keep the kid away. But you can be with someone living in the same house and your kid can be alienated from you by certain things that the
And
other
he just
parent
proved it because
deliberately
Exactly.
say.
a lot of people don't have a story like quite like yours where you have instances where you guys were still together, living together, married,
Yeah.
a family, and these things are happening while you're together, not
Yeah.
apart, not living separate, not them, withholding a child.
Yeah.
So it's
She.
just unfortunate because I'm sure when you married her, you didn't want to go down this road twice, right? You had
Nope.
already been through a lot with your
Yeah,
first
that first one was.
kid's mother. If you don't mind us asking, what race is she? Your second child's mother?
She's black.
Oh, she's black. Okay.
See, I'm
First
saying it's not a race
generation.
thing.
I asked
First
that for a
generation
reason.
Jamaican.
Yeah, I asked that for a reason because a lot of times people like to be stereotypical in
Yeah.
this. But we know that it happens to both genders. It happens to all races. It happens all over the world. It's just the person. It's the person that you have chosen to have kids with. Are they gonna be an adult and do what's best for their child, or are they going to be childish and try to do what they think is best for them? That's what it all boils down to, you know. So,
Yeah.
How long?
But
So how long has it been since you seen your son?
so I have him. So
are
I
you
have him
guys
every other
divorced?
weekend. Yes, we're divorced.
Divorce finalized. Is she having
Still
contact with
plays
your
games.
daughter?
No, no,
Okay,
uh,
so that's
not
what
at
I
all.
before, and not to cut you off because he, you know, we like to get, we typically be long winded, so we like to try to hit these points so we don't miss anything. So that's why we kind of like a little all over the place. But I wanted to know, when you said she was alienating both of the children, how does your daughter feel about her? Did she have her on her side? Was it a thing to try to separate and sabotage your relationship with her as well? Was she doing
She
that, or
was she was trying to keep the fact that she was having parties while I was gone. She
okay?
was trying to that whole problem where she wants everyone to like her, right? So she
Okay.
wanted my daughter to be her friend, so she would bribe her with doing different things, giving her certain things in order to get her to not tell me stuff. And my
Okay.
daughter was acting out, and I was like, why is she acting like this? And everybody's like, oh, it's a typical teenager. That's a typical teenager. I'm like,
Mm-mm.
something's off, and I don't know what. I didn't find out till maybe a year ago, and we've been divorced for 2 or 3 years now. I didn't find out till like a year ago that everything that was going on, about all the parties, about the particular woman. I asked her to not bring around my daughter anymore because this woman has a drinking problem. She literally keeps a handle in her car. I was like, I don't want her around my daughter because that's not setting a good example.
Mm-hmm.
And
Was it any
my
cheating involved?
that's what I was going to get to. So with that,
Okay.
when everything was going on, again, I wasn't allowed to do anything in my house. I had no say so about anything. I was the one who eventually stepped out. I stepped out
Okay.
because not only that, like I told her from the jump, like I'm honest. I'll be real with you up front. Look, twice a week, cool. Just twice a week, if that. But I'm the type, most men,
You mean sex?
yes.
Okay.
Most
That
men,
could be anything, so I had to be clear.
yeah, most
I
men,
don't think
their
twice a
their
week is
love
bad,
language.
but you know, women, we don't.
Right.
That's another.
But
I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna go there. What?
but it wasn't happening. So what would happen is
Wait. So this was a rule for you that you set? Like,
if I'm like when I first met her, before we got into a relationship, I'm like, look, these are the things I need. If you can't do X, Y, Z,
okay.
let's not do this. Let's not even get into
Listen,
this
these are the
relationship.
things I need. If you can't do 5 days a week, no, I'm just playing.
But I
Hey
set those
man,
things up when I
I
told her.
wish I could be like you,
I'm,
man.
I'm glad that we touching on this, not to get sidetracked, but this, all of this stuff matters. It's still a part of the family dynamic, right? And so
Right.
in a marriage, we know how important it is to please. Oh, did
We
we lose
lost.
you? So I'll just keep going. He'll probably have to come back up. But what I was saying, in a marriage, we know how important it is to please your spouse, right? You guys did this, you came together, you are supposed to meet each other's needs. And then when children come into the picture, that does change things. But again, I'm guilty of this too. Women, we, everybody's different, but men just think that, I think that men just think, and it's not all men, and not even my husband, but I just think that men, they just want what they want. And when it comes down to that, it's no real bargaining chip. We are different, how we feel about it and how we feel and what our needs are. But the bottom line is, as a couple, you guys have to do what it requires to meet each other's needs. And if you agree on sex twice a week or 5 days a week or whatever, you
Right.
do have to uphold that agreement, because that's what's keeping you guys healthy in terms of
All I say, man,
meeting each other's needs.
how you start, you better don't be doing all
Right.
this
So
OnlyFans stuff and then
what you talking about? What you talking
that's
I
about?
all I'm gonna
mean,
say.
at the end of the day, you had your requirement.
Yeah, go
You
ahead.
Right,
was
right, right.
aware of that, and so for
But
whatever
yeah,
reason, it shouldn't change. But you're saying that it did.
right. And I told her
If
from
it
jump.
does. That do not give you no reason to cheat. So I'm gonna say that.
No, no, no. I'll play. I'll be front with you. I told her, if this is not happening, first I'm gonna look at myself. What am I doing wrong? And I went back and looked at myself. Okay, I'm still doing everything I need to do. I'm paying the bills. I'm being present. I'm doing everything that you ask. Now it's time to go to you. What's going on with you? I asked her, what's up? She's like, no, I'm fine, blah, 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 blah. All right, cool. Well, if nothing going on with me and you're telling me you're being honest and there's nothing wrong with you, what's going on? Because after that, I need what I need. And if I'm not getting it from you, I have to get it somewhere else. I told her before we even got together, before we even started a relationship, I'm going to step out. But before I step out, I'm going to talk to you about things.
I just
And
wish you wouldn't have thought about it that way. Just I'm going look,
it's
if
better
I
than
don't get
lying.
this from you, I'm doing like because
It's better than
you
lying.
know, a lot of women are gonna see this and they're gonna think you are the problem. You was the problem in any type of situation. That's because you just said that statement right there. Like,
Man.
but you know, here this is a safe space. You being honest and thank you so much for being so
Yeah.
transparent. Like, there's nothing but respect for you for that.
So I know she was bitter about that, the fact that
Yeah,
you
that
stepped
how
out
could
as
you
well.
survive that? Did you like that's the thing. You could not do that, right? And things could probably get better, but to just say and know, hey, this is what I'm gonna do, something that you know could potentially ruin everything. Why go that route?
Her counter rule was before you step out, leave, right? And I tried to leave multiple times. And I told her my issues and my problems, right? But what she was doing is she knew that I needed that physical touch. So before I stepped out, what she would do is every time I would bring something up, she would boo hoo and cry. We'd have sex maybe once or twice. 2 weeks later, it was back to the same thing. And I'm like, you're just doing that to control
To
me. You're using
pacify
this
you.
sex.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just like, that ain't cool.
That's not cool. Yeah.
Right. So, what I did was, is I was like, nah,
Nobody wants like pity pussy. And
thank
I
you.
said it.
So I ended up going into the other room, right? Because she was literally was like, no, you got to come here and lay in bed next to me. I'm not gonna lie, she bad. She thick, curvy. Not gonna lie, but you expect for me
Nobody
to
wants
lay next to you with this big voluptuous booty and not want you
you sound like somebody I know. This so you expect me to walk around you all these that like
and
but
not
no,
want you?
it's not okay to
Right,
punish your spouse with sex, to withhold sex, to get back at them. Like
right.
all of those things are very dirty and nasty tactics, you know.
So
So
here's a trigger warning. I'm giving you all trigger warnings if you're watching, anybody watching. So when I went into the other room, she got drunk. She didn't like it. She got drunk and she came in there and forced herself on me. And I pushed her off. I told her no multiple times. I did the best I could without harming her because I knew as soon as I did something like I was really like, get up off me, she would have called the cops on me.
yeah.
So eventually
Yeah.
I just laid there and I told her like, I don't want this. And she kept going.
So she R word you.
Yeah.
She that happened. You're
Yeah.
you're you're admitting as an adult man that that is possible.
Yep.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair
So
enough.
where did it go left and then the alienating of your son like start?
It started while we were still in the marriage. It was already happening.
Okay, yeah, okay. So I'm talking about far as the part
The
where
separation
yeah, the
part.
separation part
Well,
of it.
Uh, so my son, he would ask for me to pick him up from school all the time or whatever. And she would tell him, no, I'm going to pick you up as soon as school is over. I'm not going to put you in after school care or you're not going to go to after school care. She did that multiple times. And then she didn't actually pick him up. He went to aftercare. And I'm like, why? Why are you doing that when he has a father who's active, who's here? And instead of going to aftercare, he could be with me. He could be, learning and playing and spending time with me. but you're not allowing that. Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Then when it came to like holidays and things like that, vacation, summertime, she just starts tweaking things in her favor. She tries to use the court documents to try and make it work in her favor. And I'm just like, that is literally not what that says. But there's nothing I can really do about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Um.
Been there.
So why do you think? And this may sound like a simple question, but for real, like if you could have made it work, would have worked it out with her?
After finding out what had been going on, I couldn't. No
Okay,
matter
so
how much I still have love for her, but that the hate at this point outweighs the love.
you filed for divorce.
Ooh, no. So
What?
whenever, yeah, whenever I found out that she got high and drove with the kids in the car, that was my breaking point. That was my breaking point. I'm like, look, let's go ahead and do this because I can't. I just can't. Um, and so I was like, all right, let's have somebody draw up the documents. And this happened in like October. I was like, all right, cool. Let's have somebody draw up the documents. Is there anything you want to change? So it took a while to get the documents. And so I went to go and file the paperwork. And she knew I was doing it, but she hands me a letter. And I'm like, huh? And then she was like, can I have a hug? I was like, yeah, sure. She gave her a hug. And then I read this letter and she's like, well, I wanted you to know I filed the paperwork already. I filed the paperwork already. And she already knows because I tell people this all the time. If you're going to deal with custody and divorce and stuff like that, basically, whoever files first, it's
First,
going
To
to
the
be more
other
so in
one.
their
man.
favor. But I had already taught her that. And that's what she did.
She used it against you.
I was trying to be cordial. I was like, look, we can make this thing work out as far as our son. Um, yeah, because I have a really flexible job. I'm more available than she is. I was like, I don't want any child support. I just want this to be home base for him. You know, if you ever you want to pick him up from school, go for it. You want to spend time with him, go for it. I'm not going to do that to you. But now you're doing that to
That to
me.
you.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
again, it goes back to the fact that whenever I talked to her about it, she was like, well, what are my friends and family going to think about me? And I'm like, why do they matter? It doesn't matter what they think about you. What matters is what's best for our son.
Yeah.
And that's why
Exactly.
I say it goes back on her image. She wants to keep this perfect image for everyone else. Because if you think she's bad or anything wrong with her, she alienates you and talks bad about you. And I'm not the only person she's done it to. She's done it to people she called friends. And
Has she ever talked bad about you to the kids?
yeah, yeah, in front of
Yeah,
my
because she
daughter.
was trying to turn his daughter against him
So what were some of the things? Do you know?
and his son. Their son.
Not everything. The main thing that I can remember is whenever they were out somewhere, you know, yes, I am my son's father, but she would just say, oh, my son's father, instead of, oh, my husband type
Oh
stuff. And my
yeah,
daughter was
What?
yeah.
that's
Red
weird.
flags all over the place. And I
But
Are
just
I
you
didn't
sure
know.
she wasn't cheating?
Honestly, she probably messed around with some women. I
mm,
couldn't really tell you. Not only that, actually, now that I think about it, we went on a river trip, right? And, there was like 11 of us. And at some point, we had hit some rapids, some rough water, and she lost her glasses, right? And so we got to a stopping point on the island after the rough water. And, I was checking on the kids, make sure they were good, make sure they were close. And then my homeboy was like, hey, psh. I was like, what? He's like, look. And I look over, and she's up here filling up on this dude's chest in front of everyone. And so I'm literally right next to them. I'm looking at her and looking at him, and he's just sitting there like,
a
and I
random
was like,
guy?
the dude that was on the trip with us, he is random because I
Oh,
don't really
okay.
know him.
Okay. But
But she's feeling on his chest and she's like, who is this? Who is this? I can't see. I can't tell. And I was like, it,
Oh, she tried to pull that.
right.
Oh
But here
my
it was. I was
god.
like, it doesn't matter who he is. you know that's not your husband because
Oh my God.
this guy is
Oh my
white.
Man,
God.
that whole shit would have turned into the Titanic if I
Listen.
was on there.
But no, I was
Listen.
like,
But out
this
of
guy
control
is
violence.
white. This guy is white. You're not colorblind.
Oh my God. You know your man. Like what?
So she tried to pull the no glasses
Oh
thing.
my God.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
that's
cannot
funny.
So
take it. I just
yeah,
Uh,
and then so I had to work like the next day, and we didn't get really the opportunity to talk.
okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
So yeah, so we didn't get really the opportunity to talk. And I had to go to work. And so I sent her a long text message. I was like, look, how you were acting the other day, you were acting like a thirsty hoe in front of everybody. She took that to court and was like, look how he talks to me. But did you tell him why that was said?
mm,
No,
mm,
she didn't. So yeah,
So,
my daughter honestly just now started to or is showing recovery because she was traumatized. Her grades were slipping. Like the whole thing hit her
traumatized from
hard.
the divorce
Yes,
or
and
just the
everything that
whole.
she was doing.
Okay.
Um, Not only that, like in order to make her, you know, go where she wanted her to go, because you remember COVID happened, they were doing homeschooling or whatever. She would do her work for her so that they can go wherever she wanted to go.
What?
that's
Yeah.
unbelievable, man.
Yeah.
I,
So
this is a double whammy. Like, and what, people always come to comments when we have these type of discussions or people have stories to tell, and they always say, choose better or
yeah,
think better. Do you
right.
think this is something that you could have prevented? Do you think you overlooked some things? What would you do different if you had to do these things over with these women? Because they both are
Um, for the
different.
first one, I would not, if I would have known what I know, like I wouldn't have messed with her because her whole thing is she's into the struggle. She's into the hood life of things, right? And I
Hmm.
guess she assumed that's the type of dude I was, and that's not my case. And she even tried to convince me not to deploy and say I was crazy in order to not go. Like, nah, that yeah, um,
Trash.
exactly. And the second one, honestly, I don't know if there was really anything that I could really tell you from jump because literally she communicated, she listened, the sex was happening and everything. And then it was like, as soon as it was, I do, things started
It
happening.
changed.
Her family, she let her oh, that was the other thing. She let her family disrespect me. Like you were saying earlier, when you my whole viewpoint is I if I date you, it is my responsibility to protect you from anybody that is my family or anybody I knew before we got together. Just that it is
Mm-hmm.
your job to, check those people on your end. And I
Mm-hmm.
did that. I even argued with a family member. Now finding out that family member didn't even do anything. She was doing it in order to try and alienate me from my family.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm.
she alienated me from everybody, friends, family,
Do you
and
think you were a good husband aside from the fact of you
yeah,
cheating?
hell yeah. You tell me to go and get a cup of water at 3 in the morning, I'm gonna get a cup of water. You want your feet rubbed? I'm gonna do it.
So, what was your
Anything she
flaws?
asks.
What
What
do you
was
think
my
your
flaws?
flaws were? Mm-hmm.
Being too available
Okay.
because I didn't think that was a thing. Making yourself too available and being too willing to do things for people, but some people don't know how to deal with that type of power over someone.
Do
Yeah,
You
you
know,
think you were like a pushover in your home? I'm saying, like if you said how she wanted to do something, you would just do it to keep the peace. And we all know that it seems like the right thing to do when it's happening, but it's more damaging than many people know. Like you can't just you have to have a basis of, okay, this is a not a good thing, because if you're just allowing something to happen and it's building up resentment over time, it can ruin things. So when she was being pushy and stopping you from cleaning, stopping you from being a dad, stopping you from doing all these things, do you think that you could have done something better in those moments instead of just letting her have her way, you know?
I tried. I
Okay.
tried. I really did. I communicated with her. I did everything that I could besides just flat out cussing her out. I did everything. And even then, whenever, the cleaning wasn't happening, when she was gone and working, I would have my mom come over to watch the kids while I would clean. So I was doing everything I could, but nothing was ever good enough, no matter what I did.
Well, I only ask these questions just because I want to give you the opportunity to just, not seem like an asshole. Because for some reason, men always get the blame. They always get the bad rap, no matter how it goes. You could have been the perfect father, husband, whatever. And, in some way, just because you did point out some of the wrongdoings that you did, people will just stick to that. And I don't want that. I want a clear, concise whole timeline of
Yeah.
how things were. And so that's why I asked those questions.
So how is things now?
Things have been crappy, making all like different decisions, appointments, or whatever, not trying to make sure that I can make those appointments. She doesn't talk to me or wasn't talking to me or anything like that. But just so happened, like the other day, I called her out on it. I was like, you're again making appointments without communicating with me to try and make sure that I can be present. And you've been doing that. And she was like, she started to change up, which I'm starting to see that as a sign that she might be doing something else. Um, because nobody just changes up like that.
Like what? Something else. Like,
She's trying to make herself look good because we have court coming up again.
okay. Do you know what parallel parenting is? Are you familiar
Uh,
with that term?
I believe I do, but go ahead.
So parallel parenting is basically where once the separation occurs, okay, with all the nastiness and all the toxicity and custody battles and just being in separate homes, you parent the way you parent your kid, and whatever happens with their other 50% of them that's their parent too has nothing to do with you. You don't engage in any type of contact where it's a back and forth, where it's a dispute, because at some point you're beating your head up against a wall. This person is not going to compromise. This person is not
Can't reason
going
with
to,
crazy.
right, they're not going to, do what's in the best interest of the child. It's just not going to happen. And you
Right,
as a parent want that for your kid, but at some point you have to realize I'm 50% of this child's parent and you're 50% of this child's parent. If you want to fuck up and be stupid and play games with the courts and do all the wrong stuff, at some point you still need your sanity. You still need
Yeah.
to be in a headspace that's the best for your
Yeah,
kid when
you
they're
right,
with you, when they see you, when they have the time with you, even if it's not a lot. You just have to take control over you and say, fuck you. Fuck
yeah,
that. I'm
yeah,
doing
you
this.
only can control what you can
I'm doing
what
this
you
over
right,
here. You do that over there. I don't give a fuck. Because at some point, you are enslaved by the games. You are part of the
they
circus.
fuel off of that.
right,
And
So
so people think, okay, it's my kid. So you think that that's part of the fight, but that's really not part of the fight, because no matter what, that's still 50% of that child's, that's his mother. It's
right.
nothing you can do about that. You can only do your part, what you control, what goes on in your household, and that's it. You don't have to keep fighting the little battles, because ultimately it's a war.
do you have a parenting app that y'all talk through?
No,
See, that's first thing first. That's what you need to get. Yeah, I recommend using Talking Parents or something like that, or whatever parenting app. It's tons of them.
yeah,
Yeah, you can even put that in the court case if
Yeah,
he's not receptive. You can,
But does she have to tell you
yeah.
these things through that app? She have to communicate it
I
to you.
think you guys really need no contact. And I don't, to me, because we've been through this, and I know that a lot of parents think that it's best to be cordial, right? You want that because it's not you that has this ill will. You want what's best for your kids. So you like, look, let's just get on the same page. But the reality is these people just, they're not gonna do it. It's just
Right.
not gonna happen. So at
Yeah.
some point you have to draw the line, and that's what parallel parenting is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do my
Right.
part. You do whatever the hell you gonna do, whatever that is, however that is, as long as it's not, the kid is not in imminent danger or something where you have to really take action to, like you did in your other case, like get full custody. You just have to do what you gotta do.
And also with these parenting apps too, is it can be used in court. So like if you ask a question like when is the doctor's appointment and she's give you some crazy answer, that could be brought up in court. Well, I asked, she's not doing her part.
Right.
And in most court orders, whoever's the custodial parent, and most times you said you were here in Texas, she have to let you know certain things when it comes to the child. So that's why it's important to have these parents to ask, because if you just texting or you talking to her, it's always gonna turn into a conflict,
And
man.
it's time stamped. It can't be altered.
Yeah.
It the way that it's just it's great to have, because our phones, we do what we want to do. We say we want to say, when you know it's a set of eyes on you, and not to say that she'll care, but it's best for you because it'll keep you in check because you
Yeah.
know the purpose of you using it. Like, I couldn't be in this app knowing, because we were told by our attorney, hey, this is for the judge's eyes only. Every time you say something in here, you got to think that the judge is watching and looking. And so if the other party isn't thinking that way, they're going to explode in the app. They're going to treat it just like it's their regular cell phone. And in turn, it can work in your favor. And so this is why we encourage people to do that and use that way and do parallel parenting. Parallel parenting, look, y'all not together anymore. And I know for your kid, because he's what, 6,
Yeah.
you still want to give him something that he had. He was conceived and born into a family. And so it's like this is gonna be hard for him, but you gotta understand, even with you trying to do the impossible, because now you guys are divorced, separated, and at odds, it's not doing good, it's not what's best for him.
So let me ask you this. What is y'all going to court for? If
Um,
y'all already have a court order, what's the issue now?
I put in for things to change.
You did a modification for what, the visiting parenting time,
Modification,
or
and then I also went. Uh, y'all know the child support is fraud guy.
yeah.
Yeah, went through that as well, dealing with that.
Are you not happy with the amount of child support you were ordered to pay, or what?
I'm paying about $1,000 in child support
For one child?
for one child, and
Okay.
I'm not getting any child support for my daughter.
So, cause
So
to
you
my
got you got one you got one child.
get your head out my
You
face.
got one child that
You
the
got
Depends
one
baby
on me
the
child.
baby
solely.
mother owed 30,000, and then now you paying $1,000 in child support.
Yep.
So,
That's
so
crazy,
I
man. This
guess I'm
system
trying
is
to figure
crazy.
out for that, because we are familiar with him. We are also familiar with the state of Texas and the way it
Yep.
works. Even with him getting custody, we waive child support for many reasons, whatever. But you feel that it's not fair what you are being told to pay. We know divorce is different as well. It goes a whole different route when you come out of a divorce versus how the judge determines child support and all
Right.
this stuff. So what is it that you think should be?
Was you making more money then, or
Yeah, like, can't you just
So what happened is I had somebody else that I was with. Eventually, um, she went through a abusive situation, and as friends, her and her two kiddos came to stay with me.
mm,
And this dude was known for abusing her, right? And the one time, she went to protect herself, cops came and she had a charge. So What she did was is put a restraining order on that woman. And so I was able to work more then. And so they went based off of what I was making then.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
and I tried to tell them, like, the way things are set up, I have to work a lot more than I really should because I have to pay $1,000 in child support, which is leaving my daughter with my mom, which
Right.
she needs me now more than
Right.
anything. And it's not fair for
It's
her.
not fair. Yeah. Cause
I,
to my understanding, I thought child support. What the way we feel about it, and this is just to be clear, we know that a lot of men get stiffed, and sometimes it's not fair, right? It's very lopsided, and a lot of things with the court system. But if this is your child and they're going off the basis of the law, right, then you should pay your child support. But you're saying that it's not fair because of the amount. It's not. So that's what the modification is for. You're trying to
Right.
modify child support and get it current, basically.
It's not just that. So it's it's a lot of stuff. So basically, the child support agencies, they are reporting to the credit bureaus, and they're not
Okay.
supposed to. That's against the law, for one.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
For two, whenever you go in to sign these documents for child support, they tend to make sure that there's no clerk to write down everything, the conversations, because what they do is they coerce you into signing these documents when in actuality, child support is voluntary, right? And come to find out, like the way they did everything, it's unconstitutional.
Okay. Okay.
So if y'all know the child support is fraud guy, if you ever go and look at his stuff, he breaks it down to a T.
Yeah, I know
Let
about all of that.
yeah,
Yeah.
let
Yeah,
me
I
take
just
care
kind
of
of
my
thought.
child. You know what I
I
mean?
just thought that the things that he does and says typically works for people. Not the part about it just being unconstitutional, because the law is the law, and if somebody's breaking the law, then of course, yes, you go after them. But basically, you have to pay child support. You're just saying it's the amount, right? That
It's the amount, but not
okay
only that, just let me take care of my child. How I take care of my child.
on
Because
your own, basically.
I have him every first, third, and fifth weekend and every Thursday, Friday during the school year.
Because the thing with that, the whole child support thing, I don't want to spend too much time on it,
Right.
is sometimes child support save man, when you establish, like in the state of Texas, I don't know if it's like this in all states. Well, I'm quite sure it's not. In the state of Texas, if you establish child support, then
It gives you your rights.
it gives you your rights. It establishes an order, a standard custody order. So in some cases, child support help men to get an established order so they can get in their kids' life. So
Right.
that's why, like, it's just a fine line between that. And then you got the deadbeats that
Don't take care of their kids, and
yeah,
Right.
they should be placed on child support. So
yeah,
it
But
for
even
us,
then,
like you said, the unconstitutional part about it is
yeah,
the part to
definitely.
fight for sure. But if you do it the way we're saying, then it will be voluntary. So I kind of see,
Yeah. It pretty much
I
hurts
see,
right.
more deads like you than anything.
right,
Yeah.
So we
right.
And
definitely get it.
and that's what I'm
So
saying. I get what you're saying, but like it should not be
their
okay, you
choice.
gotta do no, I'm saying like with child support. Some people just can't pay child support. They don't have the money, the funds to do it, right? But that
Mhm.
doesn't mean that they should not see their child. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Absolutely
Yeah,
not. Yeah, we don't.
child
We
support don't go against that.
right. We don't condone that at all, and it should not hurt them to the point that they're
Going to
struggling to the
jail.
point that they can't take care of their family, like or
Like
spend
me.
time with other kids or whatever. So we agree that
Because man, I never heard it how you put it. You just said that I have to work more
to
to
keep up with
my
that. Yeah.
lifestyle, to keep up with my lifestyle, so I can pay child support and take care of myself.
It's not even my lifestyle.
So they just looking at the
The
time that you
numbers.
working,
Yeah, they
but you're
look
Yeah.
not
at
really
numbers.
breaking it down to like you probably doing a lot of overtime or whatever it is, you know. So
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
in that case, it's definitely something that, again, I'm glad you filed for the modification and you going after that because it doesn't seem, that's not fair. It doesn't seem fair.
so if it was anything that you could change in this whole situation, in both situations, what would that be? If anything that you could have corrected or done better.
My life would not be as difficult as it was if I did not have my children. But I have my children and I love my children. So it's kind of, there's nothing I could or would have been able to change because if I would have changed anything, I would not have my children.
Okay.
What made you tell your story today? Is it something that you
Oh,
want?
yo.
Is it something else you want to share? Or, like, for anybody that's watching, is it some tips you want to give? Like, what made you come up tonight?
Well, she, the last, most recent one, she alienated me from everyone, right? And when I tell you I dropped female friends because she was like, oh, I don't feel comfortable, I dropped people for her, right? And then she turned around and when we're going through the divorce, she's like, oh, when friends become family, though with those same people. So
Mm,
it's like it needs to be out there because all these people have this mindset about men and they wonder why I'm so, gung ho about if you do not respect my emotions as a man, you treat me like I don't have feelings, I don't have time for you. Because I try to tell a lot of my female friends, and a lot of them actually started paying attention. It's a lot of great men out here. But the problem is that y'all have friends that are lying to y'all, and then you automatically believe everything they say as if it's the word. When
That's a
in
fact.
actuality,
Yeah.
there are great men out here. You just don't see them because your friends are lying about them. It's just how it is.
Fair enough. I mean, we appreciate you for sharing your story. We do
yeah.
feel that this is why we do what we do, to give everybody the opportunity to have a voice. And you're right. People lie all the time and they hide behind these stereotypical societal barriers, right? Where they know whose side people are going to be on. They know where the favor will automatically take place. And so I think that it hinders a lot of parents,
Yeah.
um, for what we're talking about specifically, especially with parental alienation. People don't take it serious. They don't even think it's real. They don't think it's a real thing. And so the
Yeah.
more you guys come up and tell your side, whether, people believe you or not, this stuff is happening. I mean, it's a thing. It's a real thing. And so we appreciate you for sharing with us tonight. And you got anything else?
Yeah. So if it was a perfect situation, what would that be to you? Like
As
if you
far
could
as with
have
my son,
everything go the way that you needed to go as far as your ex-wife, what would that be?
um, she wants to continue to party and do what she does. Cool. So for me, perfect situation with my job and my daughter. Let me have our son from Monday afternoon when he gets out of school until Friday morning when I drop him off to school. So that way I can be present for both of my children instead of having to now only be present for them during those days that I have him because it's unfair to my daughter. I'm the only person that she has. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you, man, for sharing your story, like my wife just said.
And keep us posted.
Yeah.
We want to know what happens with your case. I mean, a lot of people just fall off the radar when it doesn't work in their favor, but that's why we're here, to go through this journey with you, to help others, to help educate, to give tips on how to even survive things like this. Because again, we want people to know that it's a real thing, and this is why.
Yeah.
we raise awareness. So
So, and
File
you
first.
you've been through a lot. And I got one more other question to ask you.
Go for it. Not
So
how I contacted y'all, right?
how was your mental through all of this?
Oh
How was
man.
you able to stay sane?
Um,
What were some of the things you did?
there wasn't much I could do. Like I'm literally just holding on. I've been just holding on. Like even going through the divorce process, I never wanted to call the VA suicide hotline. Um, so I called a friend to just come and hug me. Just hug me. That's all I needed to do. I needed to cry, and I didn't want to cry in front of my kids. So she came with her son so that, my daughter and son would be playing with her son. They'd be distracted. But I've called the suicide hotline like 10 different times and spoke to 3 or 4 different psychologists or psychiatrists, and everybody said the same thing. Like, bro, you did what you were supposed to do. You were honest up front about any cheating, anything. You were real with her. And it sucks because she's using the system against you instead of being like, you know what, you're a great father. Um, Literally, I don't know. I'm still making it. Like, I really don't sleep unless both of my kids are under my roof. That's when I can actually sleep at the drop of a dime. But when they're not both under my roof, I don't sleep much. I usually run on like 3 or 4 hours.
did you experience any problems from being active in the military? Do you have like anything that could have caused that's kind of like spilling over now that you're going through this hard time? Do you think that's plays a role as well?
Yeah, most definitely. Because I think about the my friends that I had lost while I was deployed, um, and the things that they were dealing with, and one soldier who was there with me when I was going through my first divorce. He was like, "Look, man, I don't know what you're going through because I don't have a kid, but if you feel like what you're doing is right, I support you. Keep doing what you got to do." And he recently um, committed suicide, and
Wow.
apparently he was going through something similar, and I wasn't able to be there for him. Nobody really knew. So yeah,
Wow. Sorry. We're sorry to hear that
Yeah, yeah,
about your friend. I know you lost a lot of friends along the way, and so that's just got to be tough on its own
yeah,
to even go through this. And we do know that a lot of men unalive themselves due to this type of thing, not even having a military background or anything. So for you, I think that that's a double, triple, quadruple type amount of pressure, right?
yeah,
I just commend you for even you fought once, you fighting again. You are fighting like you're doing the good great thing that most dads don't even know how to do. They don't even know where to start. And so you got to give yourself some credit
yeah,
for just even coming this far. Um,
yeah,
2 kids, even with your daughter, for sure. Like you all that she has,
yeah.
right?
So
So,
gotta be strong for that. And just take care of yourself, man. Do things that'll, make you happy. That's what
whatever,
important.
whatever that looks like.
Exercising, drawing, coloring, whatever it is, man. And it's always gonna be it's not gonna last for long, man. It's gonna
We're definitely rooting and hoping.
yeah,
With us having experience in Texas, this state did us pretty well. It wasn't easy, and it wasn't always in our favor, right? It was a process. And
right,
so ultimately, it worked out to the best that we wanted it to. And I think that that will happen for you as
yeah,
well. Just
yeah.
keep at it, keep those terms, keep doing your research. Don't allow those triggers to take over because your kids
Kids
are what matter. They
need
need you.
right,
Like, not the bullshit, right? Not the
yeah,
drama, not the stuff that we have locked inside our head at night. Ultimately, what is going to happen if you can't continue. That's what keeps you. That's what should keep you.
Yeah. Where
Yeah,
did your daughter go? What happens with your son?
that's what's been keeping me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
all right, man. Hang in there, man. We appreciate you.
And keep us posted
Thank
if
you
you want
much.
to give your handle, your IG handle, or anything, because sometimes we allow people to do that just if you want support. But we know that can come with negativity as well.
Right.
So that's your choice, but we still want to give you the opportunity if that's something you want to share.
Um, Forward photography. That's how y'all can reach out to me. It's my photography business.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Thank you so
Appreciate y'all.
much.
Thank you
We
much.
appreciate y'all that's watching too, because we about to end this live. But no, I appreciate you again, Mr. Ward, man.
You gave us a lot and
Yeah,
some stuff that we didn't. That's the beauty of this, right? Like everybody's story is not the same. Like we have all went through some same scenarios, but you fighting like out of the country
yeah,
and just everything
it's
you had to
crazy.
do to stop the abduction of your kid, like you dropped some gems tonight. So I know your story will help someone.
Yeah, appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night.